Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome all of you to our month of March Clarity of Mind through Mindfulness session. Today, our topic is Discourse on Layperson's Conduct, Sigālaka Sutra. This is also another section from Bhikkhu Bodhi's book, In the Buddha's Words. With great respect, I'd like to invite Most Venerable Padre Chandrathana Thero to enlighten us on this great topic. Theruvan Saranai Bhante.
Everyone, Sarnai, hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Good morning. Yeah. So before we go into the topic, so let's have a little short mindfulness session. So I invite all of you to sit down comfortably and relax yourself, calm down. Basically, you're trying to establish mindfulness in the present moment. And keep your head straight, neck straight, shoulders relaxed, arms resting, upper half of the body straight, and eyes gently closed. Basically, once we close our eyes, you might feel that you have come back to yourself or you are being with yourself. And if the posture is well adjusted, properly settled, you may feel comfortable. Till that, you can do some refinements. But once you settled, you feel relaxed, you feel comfortable, you feel calm and well established in the present moment. And we are using our body to anchor the mind. The tendency in the mind is to think about the past, plan about the future, and even being distracted in the current affairs. But currently, we are trying to establish mindfulness using the body as an anchor. See whether you are fully with yourself, well grounded. Don't allow the mind to get distracted. Again and again, establish mindfulness using the body. Calm down yourself, relax yourself, let go of the past, let go of the future. Again and again, paying attention to the body. So it's a very simple, ordinary experience. This bodily awareness is a very, very ordinary experience. Don't expect any marvelous things. Rather, be with this ordinariness. Be with this awareness. This body is breathing. This body has a vibration of the heart, the blood circulation, maybe rising and falling of the abdomen. And here and there are various aches and pains. Now, all these things are happening right now. They are not our imaginations. Rather, they are very practical physical phenomena, various physical processes, and we can be aware of them. So the awareness is our resting place. So we being aware, while all these different things are happening, we being aware. Now, in order to refine our awareness or mindfulness here, so let's keep our attention at the nostril, being fully aware of each in-breath, each out-breath. Now take a deep breath, hold it for a while, slowly release. settle yourself. Okay. And once we are settled, now we can pay close attention to the breathing. So you are fully aware how in-breath happened, are fully aware how out-breath happened. Calm down yourself. There is no rush and no need to pay excess energy, excess effort, knowing your balance, the right amount, and being fully aware of each in-breath, each out-breath in a joyful manner. So as we are feeling familiar with this, now we can pay close attention to each in-breath. So this in-breath begins with a very slight gushing of the air. And then we experience the middle, then the end. There may be a little gap after the in-breath, and then the beginning of the out-breath, middle, the end. Then again there would be a gap before the beginning of next in-breath. So we are trying to recognize all the facets of this whole breathing process. Okay, let's move to today's topic. We'll first pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So again, this topic also I have selected from Bhikkhu Bodhi's book, The Words of the Buddha. And this is based on the Sigālaka Sutta, Digha Nikāya 31st Sutta, the Discourse on Layperson's Conduct. Now, if I little brief about the background, so while Buddha was dwelling in Rajagaha, in the Veluvanarama, which was offered by King Bimbisara, and one young householder called Sigālaka arrived to pay homage to the Buddha. Now he seems to be a faithful person, and coming from some Brahmanic tradition, Now, when he discusses with the Buddha, he explains that he is following kind of a tradition, kind of a custom of paying homage to the six directions. This is an old tradition coming from their generations. In the Brahmanic tradition, they have certain rituals, various customs, and one of such custom is to pay respect to these directions. So directions are the typical directions like north, south, west, east, and then the up and the down. So these are the six directions. So every day this person used to pay respect to their directions. Now, once this was explained to the Buddha, now he, rather than completely trying to abandon it, saying it is an entirely foolish thing, he very much like redefines the whole process. He's trying to give some meaning to this veneration by introducing what are these each direction mean. So this is a very interesting point where sometimes the ancient traditions, some old traditions, Buddha used to emphasize some different meaning because these are very established customs, and rather than trying to erase them, so Buddha redefines it, introduce some meaning to it, introduce some depth to them, so that the person who are involving with it has a la- large amount of merit or a fair amount of benefit. Now, how he is defining it? Now, the east direction is the parents, south direction as the teachers, west as the wife and children, north as friends and companions, below as servants and employees, above as ascetics and spiritual guides. Now, these six directions and this particular sutta is entirely towards the lay people in a way. And not only and when we are coming to the last one, it comes to the monks as well. So basically, when Buddha is giving this teaching, he's trying to very much emphasize the well-being of the whole society. Actually, in this session, we often discuss about some meditation related topics, but today we are entirely into some social ethics, social well-being, the harmony, or some wealthy or healthy relationships. So this would be the topic actually we have to talk today. So parents. So towards the parents, so what are the duties that a child has to offer towards the parents? And on the other hand, what are the responsibilities of a parent? So it's something that we need to little careful or little understand, because it is not we can't be simply negligible, simply not caring about. Rather, both sides have their own responsibilities. Say, for example, in the Sutta, Buddha is giving out or listing them like what are the child's responsibilities. So when parents become old, so the one responsibility of the children is to look after them, to support them. And if there are certain family duties that they have to perform them. And if there is a lineage coming in the family, we have to respect that, we have to protect that, we have to honor that. And if there is some inheritance coming from the parents, so the children are little bound to protect it. And once the parents pass away, so doing some meritorious deeds and try to pass merits to them and maintaining that kind of traditional lineage as well as their customs. So these are very understandable points because these are something that parents are expecting in a way. So why are we raising children? So we expect some kind of safety when we are getting old. They may look after us. So this kind of a little expectation is there. So one can argue, okay, I have no such thing. I am just doing it. I'm not expecting anything from my children. So one can argue like that. But if we consider the vast majority of people, so they have this expectation. as parents. So they are doing their best and trying to help, trying to guide. They spend their money, time, etc. But little expectation is there that these children will look after me and they will maintain our lineage, our tradition, our family customs. All these things are there. And whatever I have earned, all my properties, all my inheritance will be looked after my children. So these are very mundane kind of wishes. But anyway, we need to accept it, we need to respect it. And on the other hand, the parents' side, so then Buddha explained, so what are the duties, responsibilities of a parent? So they restrain the child from evil. So children are helpless, so they don't know much about the customs, or they don't know what is correct, what is wrong. So it is our responsibility or the parents' responsibility to give their proper guidance. So therefore, Buddha mentioned parents are the Puppa Acharya. So they are the earliest teachers. So then only we are going to the college and then we may be learning from other teachers. But the parents are the first teachers in a way. And then parents have to encourage the children to the proper path, to do the good, abandon the bad things, bad habits, and then to put them in the correct track and educate them and train them in proper customs, proper kind of a behavior. And then when they have grown to a certain level, so as a responsibility, so Buddha say that in a way parents have some responsibility to arrange a marriage to their children. And then when the proper time comes, so rather than keeping the inheritance towards about their properties to the parents, now they have to transfer that to the children. Now these are typically happening, but anyway, sometimes misdeeds are happening. Children are not respecting. Sometimes parents are not properly handling it, not properly transferring. They are keeping it for long, long time. And sometimes maybe they give it to someone that they mainly prefer, that not giving to another child. So like that, there are many little issues are there when we are considering the family background, kind of a family situation. All these things actually we can understand because it's a kind of a relationship we are talking here. We are talking about a family. Parents are there, then the children are there. Maybe in a large family, there may be grandparents are there, grandchildren are there. So likewise, so these bondages, these relationships are fairly evident in the Eastern culture, but unfortunately not that well maintained in the West culture. But anyway, Buddha talking here, particularly with respect to the that traditional Indian society where the lineage is well maintained, the families are fairly large, and many people are living together and have to respect each other. So all these things are there. Then only the newborn child will have a proper kind of warmth of the parents, and then they will look after the child, and then slowly, healthily, safely, the young one is growing, and then properly the education will be given, proper guidance is given, and as he is growing, as he is maturing, now the parents will look after a bride or bridegroom, and then the child become sort of a married person. Now the parents are getting old, but they are being properly looked after. So whatever the medicine or any other thing that being well supported. And once they pass away, still the parents are very much like remembered, and the merits are trying to be transferred. So this kind of a very intertwined kind of a society, a family, is something that Buddha encouraged, because we have to talk about some mundane well-being of the family. So this is what the Buddha is trying to tell to Sigālaka. Okay, this is the east direction. So how you are respecting the east direction is not merely pay homage to the direction in the sense the east direction, but rather east direction represents the children and the parents. Children have their own responsibilities, parents have their own responsibilities. So if both are properly met, okay, this is what we call as the respect in the east direction. And then the duties towards the teachers. Now later, so after the child is born, now he's going through this kind of education. Now he is visiting the college, or in the traditional time to the whatever that place where the education being given. Now the students' responsibilities. Show respect and greet them. Towards the teachers, actually, teachers are to be respected, and then serve and support them. And if there is any support that is necessary to be given, be attentive and obedient, and maintaining kind of an obedience and paying attention to the lesson, learn and master the teachings, and uphold their teachings. Now, actually, this was available even in Sri Lanka, in India, in that traditional society. So there's a very good relationship between the children and the students and the teachers. Now, say for example, in the New Year season, so after the New Year, say children are going with some beetles and then pay respect to the teachers and they bless and they are quite obedient. And so this kind of very beautiful relationship is there. But nowadays, these things are deteriorating. So that is also another issue. But anyway, when we consider that traditional, very healthy type of an environment, so the children and the students and the teachers have that very beautiful relationship. Even after pass out from the university or pass out from the college, still these children, these students still have some gratitude towards the teachers, because they are the ones guided them properly. If there is any kind of a fault, they are the ones who indicated, put them in the correct track, and they are the ones properly taught them. So likewise, there's a huge amount of gratitude is there. It is not for money that they have done that. Nowadays, actually, things have drastically changed. That's a different story. But what Buddha expected here is that when you are doing it honestly, properly, wholeheartedly, so the children will feel it, children will start sensing it, and basically children also start behaving properly. So the teacher's responsibilities comes under provide proper guidance, ensure the students understand in the knowledge. So the knowledge has to be properly transferred rather than keeping any teacher's fist. And then in case that the uh, students are to be introduced to some other people, other teachers, other, say, elders, that also has to be done. And if they are taking any wrong path, that has to be avoided. The proper path has to be shown. And kind of a mudita is there, uh, altruistic joy is there to see the growth of the student. So they are someone else's children, but the teacher has some kind of empathy, some sort of say joy, altruistic joy to see how the students are growing. Now we can see when as a society, when we are talking, so no one can immediately learn everything by ourselves. So someone is should be there to teach us. So they are the guidance. And maybe students have to be little obedient and little humble to maintain that relationship and to acquire knowledge in the proper way. And on the other hand, the teachers have the responsibility to transfer the knowledge in the proper way and giving that guidance with some safety, also giving the maintaining the moral conduct. So various aspects are there. Now, in the first case, we discussed about the parents and the children. Now, here we are talking about the students and the teachers. So if we maintain this properly, so the outcome is a healthy relationship in a way. So in these both cases, ultimately we are talking about a very good relationship. So how parents and the children are maintaining their good relationship. If they have maintained it, then it is obvious that the children might look after the parents, or the parents may look after the children, properly transfer the inheritance. So all these things may happen smoothly. And on the other hand, if the teachers and the students are maintaining these ethics, then that transaction also may happen properly. And let's come to the other side now. So that's another level. So husband and wife. Now here again another type of relationship. So in a family there is husband, there is wife. So what are the husband's responsibilities? Now here Buddha lists them. Treat the wife with respect and never insult or mistreat, and be faithful. So don't involve in any adultery. Be faithful and share responsibilities. Provide her with comfort and protection. Now this is a traditional society we are talking here. So in the traditional society, the husband is taking the upper hand. So he is very much like the breadwinner. So he is maintaining the kind of authority like. So therefore, his responsibilities are there to protect the children, protect the wife, give them proper support. So these are very much like some accepted norms. Then what are the wife's responsibilities? So properly manage the household. Now managing the household has become wife's responsibility because maybe the husband is occupied and he is not at home maybe, but wife is managing the whole household work. Be kind to servants and family members. Be faithful and loyal. Protect family resources. Maintain diligence in all duties. Now you can see in the old tradition, so the breadwinner being the husband, so he is very much like engaged with many activities, but the wife is looking after the whole thing. So being a mother, so now we all know that in Sri Lankan society, in Indian society, and all these traditional societies, so this model is really looked after. This model is well worked, but now things have changed, as I already mentioned. Now sometimes the wife is also going for work and the husband is also working, and maybe children are taken to the daycare center, and many discrepancies have happened. Now things have become fairly complicated, but in a way very simple healthy guideline is given here by the Buddha. And sometimes now we can see very advanced societies are still trying to appreciate these old models and try to revert back to that. That's another side that we can talk. So the society has gone in a different track, even though this kind of a beautiful, simple model was there. Things have complicated and they have deviated from model. And later, now again, they are very much like trying to revert back. So something is there. So that's also we can see from the society. And next one, duties towards friends. Now, different relationships, again, we are very much like discussing. So when we are maintaining a relationship between a friendly relationship, so we may be meeting friends at the college, at the university, maybe during our workplace, or maybe through our neighbors. So we again start various relationships because humans are in a way fond of having relationships. We need to accept that we are kind of having a dependent mentality. So here we are not talking much about the vipassana or this kind of a thing. Rather, we are now talking a mundane kind of well-being of the society. So as human beings, we are kind of creatures where we like certain relationship, a healthy relationship. So that's why when we are born, we are trying to maintain that relationship with our parents. So as we are going to the college, we are trying to maintain that relationship with maybe with our teachers, maybe with the friends. So then one may get into another level, that maintaining another relationship between being a fiance or fiancée, then husband and wife, then parents and children. So all are in a way kind of relationships those are very much like represented in the whole society. So starting with the family, now in between families, in between different traditions in the whole society, many different kinds of or different levels of relationships can be seen. But unfortunately, when people are not respecting or they are uneducated about these things, so they misbehave and the relationships are very much like threatened. They can't maintain a relationship. So they don't know how to respect, they don't know how to treat, they don't know how to talk, they don't know how to care. So many things are there. So that ultimately one is unable to maintain a relationship. Now, this friendship is something like that. So, how are we going to maintain a relationship? So, this can be here in a general way, Buddha has mentioned kind of duties towards friends. And maybe you may be having another type of relationship, maybe with your may friends or neighbors or fiance, fiancée. Now, all these things are kind of a good relationship. So, how to maintain a relationship? And one's responsibilities are listed like offer gifts, speak kind words, provide help when needed, treat friends as equals, and keep promises. Now, these are little things actually. Now, when we want to share something, so we are talking to someone and then we reduce our stress, we have a companion, and so we are sharing all our secrets. But if the other person is misusing them, exposing them, so then the whole relationship gets shattered, because other person didn't maintain that trustworthiness. So we are beings like we can't hold things. So rather than holding things secretly, we tempt to share it with someone. We open. That's a good thing. But if the other person is misusing that information or revealing that information to some wrong parties, then we are in trouble. So therefore, we need to admit that how our minds are working in a more psychological way. So whenever we are going through some life matters or troubles, so rather than keeping it to ourselves and burning with them, so we used to expose that. We used to reveal that. For that, we may be selecting a person who is fairly trustworthy and he's my friend. I can open up myself, openly talk with him, and probably he may console me. And all these things are certain little expectations, some innocent expectations we may have. And in that case, so keeping promises and treating equally and providing help when it is necessary. Now, all these things are very beautiful qualities or attributes helping us to maintain a healthy relationship. And then the other side, again, Buddha mentioned, protect you when vulnerable, and then safeguard your belongings, support you during the crisis, provide comfort during hardship, respect your family and loved ones. Now, both parties are doing like this. So, if both parties are doing like this, then maintaining a good relationship is a blessing. So, people are blessed to have a good friend in a way, because wholeheartedly one can trust, one can completely open up, and one know that he's a trustworthy person. I can depend on him. I'm sharing all my secrets with him, and he's also maintaining that only to himself. And in case necessary, he is there for me to help. And it's a very beautiful relationship. And then the society is beautiful, society is growing, and we are living harmoniously. And we are actually talking here, taking some minimalist example, a family, very limited scope, but the same thing can be applicable to a vast range, to the large majority. Maybe, say, for example, between two societies, between two countries, same ethics can be applicable. So there may be some good relationship between two countries. So how are they maintaining that relationship? Is there any trustworthiness? Is there any sharing of the common information? And are we able to give hand when someone is in a, say, bankruptcy? Now, these things are not a bad thing. Now, we are talking at a very small level, but the same thing is applicable to a large level, a larger scope, larger scale. Now, duties towards employees, that's another level. So we, unlike in the uh, traditional agricultural society, now this is the model mostly working. So people are going to workplace and they are doing various duties, and there are many others getting involved. Probably we may have uh CEO, administrative officer or supervisor, or we being the supervisor, we being the administrative officer. All these things are possible. And how are we maintaining that relationship? So are we with the mentality that, okay, I have to take the maximum out of the employee? Or do we have, as an employee, I have to do the almost the minimum thing and get the vast benefit? So these are the different opinions people are having. But what Buddha is talking here, mentioning here, is something that we can pay attention. The employer's responsibilities, employer's responsibilities. So those are listed as assign tasks according to the ability, provide fair wages and food, care for their well-being, share rewards and benefits, allow rest and breaks. Now, many different aspects are broadly seen, broadly very much like considered. Say, for example, assign tasks according to the ability, not doing any kind of favorism. Rather, if we know, okay, certain person is capable, he has certain proper skills to fulfill that certain task, okay, that is the person being selected to fulfill that task. Not that he is kind of my brother, father, or something like that. Rather, okay, he is capable. He has all these skills to perform whatever the task. And then the provide fair wages. Now, these are everybody can understand. No need to explain actually. So nowadays, many strikes and protests and all these things are there. Firing and sacking and all these things are also there. So many issues are there in the society, because we have forgotten all these ethics in a way. We have forgotten the basic moral standards, and maybe sometimes employers are exploiting the employees, or the employees are not performing their duties. So ultimately, the whole company, the whole organization may collapse, bankrupt. All these things are possible. But if we are able to sort of, as a whole, maintain a good relationship, maintain good understanding, respect each other, and maintain a good organization or company, probably we can try to grow. There's a fair tendency to grow and care for their well-being, and rather than simply exploiting. So the employer's responsibility is to look after the employees, in a way, looking after their well-being and share rewards. Now, if they are doing well and fair amount of benefits are there, the profits are there, equally distributing rather than simply keeping to the employer, distributing that whatever the profit towards the employees will encourage them, and they will further perform well. And a very good trustworthiness, a good relationship obviously can be maintained. And when it is necessary, giving a rest, giving holidays or whatever, so that so the employees are also well protected. So that kind of a well-being is something that Buddha discuss here. And then the employees' responsibilities. So those are listed as start work properly, maybe on time, and finish work late. So giving little bit of contribution from your side, and be honest and loyal, perform tasks diligently, not not neglecting them, doing them properly, diligently, uphold the employer's reputation. So you are the one, say, we are the employees. So we are the ones having the secrets of the company or the secrets of the organization, the know-how of the company. So if we are exploiting that, if we are simply sort of selling that to the others, then we are going to collapse. The whole company will going to collapse. Sort of business secrets may be there, certain technology may be there, the know-how may be there. So, and again, the whole reputation of the company is there, the organization is there. So these are many little things that as employees, we probably have to think of. But if we are simply ignoring and only very much like acting in a very selfish way, probably ultimately the whole company can collapse. So these things are very familiar things to most of you. And obviously we can see many examples in the whole society. So how certain organizations have collapsed, how certain companies have gone to bankruptcy. So who actually has contributed? Either employer, either the employees. So they are demanding so many things but not contributing. So many conflict things are there. But if there is a proper relationship, if there's a good mutual understanding, mutual respect, then probably there's a higher chance to success. Ultimately, Buddha comes to the last one. So duties towards ascetics and spiritual guides. So this is also another type of relationship. Now we are coming to the spiritual side. So far we discussed about the typical mundane well-being of the society as different levels, how we have maintained a relationship. But now still another aspect missing. So that other aspect is the spiritual side. There may be a group of people who are growing in the spirituality. So they being the spiritual teachers, so how are they treating the others? How are they treating the householders? And what householders have to expect, or what householders has to do? That is also discussed here. The layperson's responsibilities. Show kindness in thought, word, and action towards these spiritual teachers or spiritual people, and offer hospitality, support their material needs. Now, these people, these monks or ascetics, are not actually maintaining their own, whatever the occupation or any kind of such financial thing, but they may be fully dependent on the generosity of the lay people. And so in that case, the spiritual people are in a way little dependent. So Buddha actually emphasized that to the monks, telling, okay, monks, you need to often reflect parapati baddhame jivikati. So my life is fully dependent on the others. My life is fully dependent on the generosity of the others. So it's actually make them very humble, understanding that they are dependent. Because sometimes when one is spiritual while the others are fully engulfed in the kind of indulgence, say, whatever this sensual pleasures, so the spiritual people might have a little conceited mind, because they can see how others are behaving and how he is different, causing him to have a little conceited mind. But when he understands his life is dependent on the others, dependent on these lay people, so make him humble. So therefore, these are two sides actually. So therefore, in the Dasadhamma Sutta, Buddha particularly mentioned to the monks, you need to often reflect parapatibaddhame jivikati. Pabbajitena abhinham paccavikkitabba. You need to often reflect that your life, all your supports are dependent on others. You are not using money, you don't have any entrepreneurs, you are not having any income, all are dependent on the generosity. And on the other hand, the layperson, and they maintain a little hospitality and support the spiritual teachers with the material, and then having some kindness, show their respect, all that are there. And the spiritual people, they are actually showing another side to the lay community. Okay, don't just indulge in the sensuality. Okay, there is another side. Time to time, take a break. Okay, you maintain a virtuous life, and then don't do anything evil. So there are repercussions if you are engaging with something bad. Okay, you try to maintain some moral conduct. So likewise, the spiritual person has to kind of guide the society, and then the teaching the Dhamma, and lead the other side, the layperson, also in the proper Dhamma path. Because it is difficult, because otherwise this will end in a very soon. If the lay people are not providing their support, and the spiritual teachers are not providing their teachings properly, so if we simply stick to the Buddha's teaching, ultimately it will finish very quickly, because they are not acting each other or helping each other. So it will not last for a long time. But if both parties are understanding, helping, probably there's a higher chance for the teaching, the Dhamma, to live long life. And there's a little summary, and I don't want to go through it. So the east direction are the parents, south direction are the teachers, west as spouse, north as friends and companions, below as employees and servants, above as monastics and religious teachers. So in summary, so here the six directions symbolize relationships and responsibilities in layperson's life. And by fulfilling these duties, one gains harmony, respect, and protection in this life and the next. Now, the basic idea is, so we are living as a society. Everyone is not independent, everyone is dependent. Probably we may say, okay, I'm independent, I'm self sufficient, I don't need your help. We can say like that. But there is a time that we need someone's help. So our life, maybe our well-being is fairly dependent on someone's help. So that we need to humbly understand. Then we may attempt to have a proper relationship, understanding the other's aspect, knowing their needs, knowing their situation. Then we can look from a different angle and try to maintain a healthy relationship. Actually, just to connect this with mindfulness, one aspect of mindfulness is actually the self-awareness. And when you are slowly very well self-aware, you start knowing others' feelings as well. You start reading others' feelings. So sometimes we call as the emotional intelligence. So as you are growing mindfully, slowly you understand your own problems, your own attitudes, your own strengths and weaknesses. At the same time, you start sensitive to someone else's weaknesses, someone else's attitudes, someone else's behaviors. So you can read the other person, what we call as emotional intelligence. So when we have that, then maintaining good relationships become one aspect of the spiritual path also. So in the long run of the mindfulness practice, you come to a level where you are not immediately jump into conclusions or jump into actions. You are not compulsive to do anything. Rather, you maintain a kind of a careful relationship. You respect the other person, and you are not immediately jump into conclusions. You will consider the situation. You have some empathy. So all these things are actually part of our practice as well. So therefore, what we discussed today is not apart from our practice, is part of our practice. Either you are a mother, either you are a father, either you are an employee, employer, or husband or wife, teacher or student, or layperson or ascetic. All are playing different roles. So we need to understand where we are. We need to understand what are our responsibilities and what others are having. And all that, if we know carefully, probably we can have a good relationship. Okay, with that, I like to conclude today's session. Session in the sense this teaching. Now, since today is in a way little bit of talking about relationships, so I would like to hear from you about your experiences. So, how you are able to handle them, and what are your thoughts about this? So, we have some different group here also coming from different traditions. So, if anyone of you like to share your views, please feel free. Yeah, Dhananjay, yes.
Yeah, Dhananjay, you can unmute and
Yeah, Thero Swamin Wansa, what
Yeah.
you discussed today was very important. As you, Bhante said, relationships are the ones that take us along this path. It can be spiritual, it can be professional, it can be personal. And I
Yeah.
heard Lukaswamin Wansa telling it's mindfulness is like a big plier which can
Mm-hmm.
hold anything in this world.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, I was following a program on psychology and counseling. So they are the basis Buddhist psychology, Buddhist traditions. So everywhere
Mm-hmm.
it's mindfulness can be used. That is my comment, Bhante. So thank you and much merits.
Yeah. Actually, thank you for the comment. So, actually, as I just shortly or briefly explained, so mindfulness can used as a good platform to understand this. Because when we are developing mindfulness, first actually we are developing some kind of a body awareness. Say, if we are talking strictly about the Kayanupassana, so we are kind of developing some body awareness. It's appear like very limited, very narrow scope. But slowly as we are growing, we slowly being aware to our emotions. So when we get angry, we feel quickly aware of it. We feel lustful, still we can be aware. When we feel restless, again we can be aware. So all our emotions become accessible to us or known to us. Then we have little control to them. Because otherwise, what happens is that we may be used to compulsively, emotionally react. So that's what we may be doing. So ultimately, it affects the other party. Assume that you are a mother, you are a father, and whenever your child misbehave, probably you immediately act, immediately punish, immediately blame. All these things can happen. But when you are developing mindfulness, you start recognizing that. You start recognizing that change happening within you. Probably you can little be patient about the situation. You can see why this child is doing this. So what would be the proper action to be taken? So you are a bit cautious about what's going on. So you are fully aware of your own behavior, about your own thoughts, about your own emotions. And more you have that experience, you can actually understand someone else's reaction as well, someone else's behavior as well. So you can read another person. So this emotional literacy or emotional intelligence become one important aspect of the practice. So the emotional intelligence become very important aspect because it is not merely intellectual now, but rather you are very much like connecting with the other person. You can understand the vibration of the other person, why he is doing so, why he is behaving, what he may be thinking, what is the kind of situation that he is going through. Now this kind of very empathetic kind of way of looking at things become possible as you are developing in the spiritual side. So it is not that you are trying to cut off yourself from the society and completely deviate from that and be a completely different person. maybe certain amount of seclusion is necessary during your practice, but it doesn't mean that you're being completely alienated from the society. Time to time, you have to deal with your children, but your parents, about your maybe teachers, students, employees, employers, all that are there. So we can't be 100% independent. So we have to go back to the society. So while dealing with the society, so the practice that we have gone through is utterly important. So actually the relationship help us to further grow our practice. Now, say for example, at one level of our practice, in our Vipassana practice, there may be a situation that you are growing fairly high and you are able to maintain a mind which is free from defilements. Say while you are sitting, okay, you may be practicing a little bit of loving kindness or mindfulness, Vipassana. So the mind is fairly pure now. No defilements, no anger, no hatred, no any resentments. But now you get up and walk to the supermarket. So are you maintaining the same purity of your mind? Or you are trying to deal with a matter of your children? Are you maintaining the same purity of your mind? Or you are visiting your working place? Are you able to maintain the purity of your mind? So that is the place now we have to apply our practice. So while being in the meditation hall, while being in the retreat center, our minds are maybe fairly pure. But what we have learned, what we have practiced, has to be applied when we are dealing with other matters. So our practice has to be taken to the society, our practice has to be taken to our working place, to our college, to our university, to our working place. So that is where the real practice is going on. Because the others may coming from different traditions or different levels, different family backgrounds, and that is the challenge actually. So when that challenge is there, how well are we handling it? Are we able to maintain such a pure, unattached, equanimous, harmonious mind? Or are we fully distracted? Are we fully into anger? Are we become restless? Are we become agitated? So if this agitation or restlessness happen, then we need to be aware of it, quickly come back, quickly settle, quickly come back to our normal state. So that is what we are calling as resilience. So these are all in a way interconnected. So the practice is not completely apart from our daily activities. So the practice has to be brought to the daily activities. Practice has to be brought to our relationships. So when you are returning to your home after the retreat, so the practice what you have done has to be taken to the family, taken to your children, taken to your society. So all these things are therefore become more practical, more pragmatic, rather than very sophisticated, limited kind of an experience. So therefore, as you said, Mr. Dhananjay, so basically we need to take it to a more practical point.
Thank you, Bhante.
But anyway, it is quite challenging. So don't think that it's so easy and maintaining all these things, you know the list and you refer the list and do it. Not that easy, because we have different characters, different temperaments, different upbringing, and they have their own conceits, their own views. So many differences are there. So respecting those differences are also another thing. So rather than we trying to flatten the whole thing and everyone to have black and white type of a thing, okay, different people have different approaches. They have different skills, different strengths, different weaknesses. So how well we navigate through all, maintaining a good relationship is really challenging actually.
That's true, Bhante. Ananda, you can present your question. You can unmute.
So Anna Thero Sarnai.
Yeah.
So Anna, so what I actually strongly now realizing and kind of trying to practice is that now when you look at a person as five aggregates, but I mean everybody every time we are hearing that, but I don't know whether we are kind of realizing that part. So when you look at a person as a five aggregate, and when you say sanya vedana, perceptions and feelings, it's all different. And what we have heard from Buddha is that these are always wrong. Like for example, perceptions are not real. We are something perceive something which is not there. So when you look at a person, and most of the times what happens to us is we are not agreeing with that other person and we get angry. That is what is happening now. So
Correct.
But if you at that time, if you have the mindfulness to think, yeah, that is his perception. That is how he has perceived things, and accordingly he's working. So if you can recollect that factor at that time, then we don't get angry because there is no reason to get angry. And also, we see that person as a five aggregate.
Correct.
When you see a person as five aggregate, the object for you to get angry is losing, is kind of dissolved. I mean, so you don't see that entity. So the problem now is that what I'm realizing is that when you get that situation, okay, when I get angry of a person, and if I can remember at that time, okay, this person is a five aggregate, and his perceptions are different to mine naturally, and he works according to his perception. So I don't have to get angry with that. But the thing is, I don't remember that fact at that time. So meaning that we don't have the mindfulness at that time. So why mindfulness, how mindfulness work there is that, we have to remember at that time, oh, hey, this is the five aggregate right there. So that is why I think we need to practice mindfulness, so that when our mind changes from A to B or from good to bad, kusala karma to akusala, chitta, then if you can remember that, I mean, if we know at that time, then actually we'll be out of that mess at that situation. So the problem right now is that we don't see a person as a five aggregate. That is one. The second thing is, when we get angry, we don't know that we are getting angry at that time. So I think what we need to, what I'm thinking now is that to be in that situation, or to know that my mind is changing from good to bad, or I'm getting angry now, so we have to practice satya. So when you practice satya, your mind is elevated to that situation at that time, and you can see that. I mean, I don't know. I reap the benefits of mindfulness now because I practice mindfulness. Then, not like those days. Now I see that in a short time that I'm getting angry and all that.
Correct.
Maybe you
can
actually.
Thanks for sharing that information. So actually, many approaches are there. So now, say for example, the development of the metta, loving kindness. So that is one approach. So when you are developing certain amount of loving kindness, so you have to have certain amount of space for the others to do mistakes. So you can't expect everyone to be perfect, and you yourself is not perfect. And you practicing loving kindness means that you are capable of including or accepting their faults as well, their mistakes as well. So that is one way of practice. So the developing of the loving kindness. The other thing is, now say you have certain compassion. So when you have certain compassion, when other person is, say, going through some bad situation, then you have certain empathy, you have some compassion, and you interact, and if necessary, you help. So then other person develops some trust or faith or loving kindness or acceptance towards you, and the relationship is well maintained. And on the other hand, when the other person is growing more than you develop mudita. what we call the sympathetic joy, altruistic joy, then still the relationship can be well maintained. So therefore, this Brahma Vihara practice is one area Buddha highly recommend to have this good relationship. Now, when it comes to Vipassana, we are going in a fairly deeper aspect, as Ananda mentioned. So we are looking from a different angle now. So here also now I am using what we call the my body to investigation, and then ultimately one may understand, okay, it is not my body, it is a collection of many little parts. It's a collection of various elements. These elements are entirely vulnerable, quite transient. They are coming and going, arising and passing away. So there is nothing substantial, there is no inner core, so it is non-self. So you understand more deeply about so-called your own body, and then that basically become disintegrate. You can't find a self here within the body. And as you said, then probably you investigate about the feelings. There also you may understand, okay, there is no person in the feelings, no person in the perception, no persons in the thoughts, no person in the consciousness. So now they are merely aggregates. So once you practice it to yourself, then the same is available to the outside. Inferentially, you can understand, okay, the other person, the so-called person, is also nothing but five aggregates. With whom am I going to be angry? So likewise, if we are practicing Vipassana, slowly many other methods also become available to us, or many other tools are also available to us to overcome anger, to overcome other different emotions, so that the relationship can be well maintained using those techniques as well. So many different levels of techniques are there in the teaching. So whatever appropriate, whatever capable can be used and maintain the the harmony in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And so when it comes to that level, so I mean, also like especially the perceptions. I mean, lately what I'm really realizing is this perception, the thing called perception. What we perceive is not always right. So whenever we look at a person and when you make a judgment, actually we are always wrong. 90% of the times we don't know that person exactly who he is. How his mind works, his background, his education, his karma, his, what, we don't know anything, but without knowing any of these things, we come to judgment. So, which is wrong totally. And so, I don't know, this Buddha's teaching is so fantastic. I mean, when you realize this, and only on that factor, only on that matter, perception, if you really understand, I don't know, to me, it really helps me if you can remember, okay, that is how he perceives things, and that's how, according to what he perceives, he feels, and he makes his intention, and that's what he does. So, but he is not in control of those, because it is based on his karma, his education, his background, his school time. So many factors contributed to that situation. So then you lose the entity right there. And
same thing applicable to me as well. Now,
sorry?
The same thing is applicable to us as well. So we
exactly,
also have
exactly. Yes, I mean you also like that. Yeah, when you apply it to yourself, it kind of coming second. But first, if you can understand the other person as no person, so then of course you can apply to us also. Starting with you is kind of little difficult for me, I think. But when you look at the other person, you can just apply that. I don't know, maybe the way that I look at. Thank you, Swaminathan.
Yeah. So actually, same thing is very well highlighted in the Mahahatti Padopama Sutta by Venerable Sariputta, as quite correctly mentioned by Ananda. So Venerable Sariputta also mentioned at different levels actually we can apply. One level, as we discussed, is that we can see things as elements, we can see things as five aggregates or different spaces, so that there is no person to be angry then. So how are we going to be angry with five aggregates? So to be angry, we need to have a person. I need to be a person, he also need to be a person. But when we sort of depersonify, or when we sort of scatter this false illusionary self, then that whatever the anger become redundant, it become dissolved. So the everything loosen the grudge or loosen the grasp, things are settled.
Actually, what you get there is the sympathy or anukampa. Actually.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
what can he's a trap of all these other inputs that he has already accumulated over a period of time. That way, you can actually, instead of getting angry, you can sympathize with him.
Correct.
And
Exactly.
and even Sakkaya Ditti, like we are talking about so on, being a stream mentor. There again, Sakkaya Ditti is looking at this as a 5 aggregate. So I think that will be really helping if we can really look into that aspect seriously.
Correct. Yeah. I think
Okay.
Yeah, there's a comment coming from our side. Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, that Dharma discussion sort of does sum up the four Brahma Viharas really well. You need to sort of, when you meet day-to-day people, you need to have that understanding, have the metta, the karuna, mudita, and have altruistic joy, like to other people, especially that people that don't do meditation, and live stressful day-to-day lives. You need to have that sort of like altruistic joy, like a sympathetic joy towards other people. And then utilize the four Brahma Viharas, and you'll find that it's not easy, but having that sort of equanimity, just having that balance will help with, day-to-day people, like, they don't have time, or, their mind will come up with an excuse to not have time to do Vipassana or meditation of some form. So I find that, the four Brahma Viharas sort of sum up that whole Dharma discussion. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's what I also first highlighted. So Brahma Viharas are also a very beautiful practice that Buddha recommend, because deep understanding about 5 aggregates, deep realization about the elements might take some time, because you need certain skill to develop that. You can theoretically understand, of course, as these are 5 aggregates or anything, but to deeply understand it, to realize it, it may take certain amount of time. So you need to develop a fair amount of mindfulness, you need to develop a fair amount of concentration, and using that, you are balancing the effort and applying to the body and investigate, and then you realize the elements, processes, and how they are arising, passing away, and maybe it will take some time for you to deeply touch the reality. But as he pointed out, Brahma Viharas, on the other hand, are working at the mundane level, at a conventional level. So you are behaving as a person, the other person also behaving as a person, but I have mindfulness, or rather, I have loving kindness towards him. We are working at the very conventional level, accepting the norm, typical, as I am a person, he is also a person, but I have to have some sympathy towards him. I have to have some friendship towards him. I have to have some compassion towards him. I have to have some altruistic joy towards him. I have to be equanimous towards him. Now, this is acting another level. So therefore, one strong tool, as we already discussed, is the Vipassana tool. But another tool is this conventional Brahmavihara level. So if we are able to practice Brahmaviharas, so that is also giving us a very comfortable cushion for the well-being of the whole society, because all are accepting, all are respecting, honoring each other, because all are practicing the Brahma Viharas. So therefore, having such attitude within oneself and applying that to the others are quite useful. Yeah. No questions from our side, Shalika?
I think we don't have any questions from this side as well. Bhante, but just something quick. I just thought of asking, like, I feel like, under having an understanding of the emotional understanding of other people, it's like very useful to have like a good relationship. So basically, if you understand yourself, how your emotions regulate, and it's really helpful to understand the other person emotions.
Correct. Correct.
But what can you say, like, typical like a lay person who have not gone to that much of development their mind, and how they can start it? And I know like Brahma Vihara is such a good thing that to practice, just to have, anyway, it is just always for the others, not for yourself. So having a loving kindness, like compassion, and everything. So, uh, how can you, what, kind of advice you can give for that such a
So
person?
actually, if we refer back to the relationship between husband and wife, so one aspect of the husband is explained by the Buddha in this, what we already discussed, is never insult or mistreat the other person, the companion, the wife, basically. So what happens is that we know only our part. That's the problem. Now, say for example, the husband. So he is going to the work and he is working hard, maybe going through some hardships, so that he know his part. But the wife, individually, she may be looking after the children. She is cooking and washing and all that. So much of other works are there, which is not exposed to the husband if he is not aware of it. And then when he's returning back home, so both have done a vast amount of contribution, but each one's contribution is hidden to each other. So that is where we have to share our own ideas, share our own views, what are the hardships that we have gone through, so that mutual kind of relationship, mutually revealing what we have gone through, opening up ourselves, may be really helpful, because we can't expect other person to imagine all these things and then appreciate that also. Because sometimes what happens is we are not showcasing our things, we are not revealing our contributions, we expect other person to understand. So that's also something sometimes go wrong, because how we expect another person to understand the full capacity, the full scope of our contribution. So if he's at home and maybe during a holiday, and probably he may be looking at what we are doing, what we are contributing, or maybe a wife is visiting the working place and understand what a kind of hardship that the husband is going through, probably maybe there's a fair chance for one to understand each other's contribution. Actually, both are doing something good. Both are trying to say maintain the well-being of the family, but each one's contribution is hidden to each other sometimes. Now, there are instances like, for example, say husband is working hard and say wife is carrying the food towards him, and then she witness what a kind of a hard work that this fellow is going through. For whom? For me, for the children. And similarly, husband is returning home and he evidence, okay, what a kind of a hardship this wife is going through. For whom? For me, for the children. So likewise, so if we have some evidence to see that how each one is working hard, how each one is contributing to for the well-being of the family, then we can appreciate everyone's contribution. So similarly, at an organization also, at another level also, if we can really see how the other person has gone through some hardships and how well he has thought deeply to contribute, and then we know the background. So what happened typically is we jump to conclusions by simply seeing the face value, not deeply understanding what has really gone through. So therefore, in a way, we have to have a chance to reveal what are the reasons, behind my conclusion, behind my justification. So likewise, in a way, I can say the kind of revealing our each other's views, revealing our own contributions, have a good conversation, good discussion, all that matters to sort out these issues. Because otherwise, if we are simply keeping our things only to ourselves and brewing with it, and it doesn't going to help. Ultimately, you become depressed, and as you said, the relationships can be shattered, and the family can break up.
Yeah, that's a
Unfortunately, this is happening. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's actually you mentioned like that the communication revealing. It seems like nowadays people keep everything to themselves. They don't communicate much. I think I don't know
Yeah.
whether it's because of the electronics. Like even like nowadays now this generation like they don't talk much. They basically communicate with each other with texting. Texting is a very big problem because you cannot have emotions there, so it has become really a
Lead to
problem.
understandings, actually, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because when you are directly telling something, and sometimes the words included there can give a different connotation, different meaning, and it can lead to a huge misunderstanding. It is not that you are face to face talking and have a very good direct experience.
exactly.
Rather, it's many things are very much like unknown to us.
Exactly. Thank you
Human
very
interaction is something very, very important. So that's why, I mean, these techniques are useful, of course, but at least time to time we need to have some direct relationship interactions. So then only we can avoid any misunderstandings, and uh, uh, kind of erase or abandon all these misunderstandings and come to the proper understanding. Okay, why this person is talking, and we have opportunities to discuss, and all these things are there. So time to time having this kind of interactive sessions are very, very important.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Madhav. Much merits to you.